This page is the front cover of Total N64 magazine, and it's a real blast from the past. Donkey Kong is the star, big as you like, promoting Kongtastic Donkey Kong. The cover screams about a free, 100-page book crammed with N64 cheats. Also featured is the Game Boy Color, and it touts 139 games rated inside. Oh, and if that wasn't enough, there's a world exclusive, Zelda 2 lurking, as well as Beetle Adventure Racing. The cover is trying to give away so much I'm surprised it doesn't explode. It also shouts about winning one of 5 Game Boy Colors. The next page is a full-page advert for the game Total European Club Football, featuring a green-tinged image of Dennis Bergkamp kicking a football. It boasts all the clubs, all the leagues, all the cups. It also highlights the website easports.com, FIFA branding, and is officially a Nintendo 64 licensed product. This page is a full-page advert for FIFA 99. The advert has the slogan "Obey my feet" and features a grainy green-tinted image of a footballer in action, and the EA Sports logo and tagline, "If it's in the game, it's in the game." The Nintendo 64 game box is also featured. Gaz. The next page is the front cover for Total N64 magazine, issue 26, April 1999. Donkey Kong and his entire extended family are the cover stars. There's a preview of Boyzone, devoted to Nintendo's Game Boy Color with all the best reviews and tips, as well as the usual content pages with a games list and reviews. Review games include Beetle Adventure Racing, Castlevania, South Park, WCW Thunder, Mario Party, and Hyrule Stadium. The contents include the usual list of regulars with pages such as Insight, The Burning Issue, and Right On. This page is the contents page, detailing the features and reviews within. Insight covers news about Zelda 2, the upcoming Star Wars game, and Donkey Kong 64. There are reviews for Beetle Adventure Racing, Castlevania, Vigilante 8, and Carmageddon 64. Busted focuses on Zelda 64, providing an exhaustive guide. Other games featured include WCW Thunder, Mario Party, and Hyrule Stadium. Rapid Publishing's address is also displayed. The next page features a rather imposing image of Donkey Kong, complete with a speech bubble from Diddy Kong saying, "See ya later, cheaty monkey." The page is titled Congressional Honor and discusses Donkey Kong's journey from villain to beloved Nintendo star. It also mentions the hype surrounding the release of Donkey Kong 64, with internet servers almost exploding with people trying to see the first screenshot. The text also references how Total N64 looks at the past, present, and possible future of the ape, the myth, and the legend. The page also features the box art for the original Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo. This page delves into the history of Donkey Kong, from villain to hero. Titled Kong Credits, it showcases various games the Big Ape has appeared in, like Super Mario Kart, Diddy's Conquest. The arcade Donkey Kong section reminds us of his villainous roots, while Donkey Kong Jr. sees us rescuing DK from Mario. Donkey Kong 3 involves exterminating hornets. A bizarre twist in it, there's a visual journey through the Kong family, with Donkey Kong teaching Link a lesson in Super Smash Bros., and a nod to Dixie Kong's Double Trouble on the SNES. The page highlights Donkey Kong's first appearance, trying to stop Mario, and reveals the origin story, a Popeye game gone wrong, leading to the creation of Monkey Kong. It also points out that Donkey Kong was the first game to feature a jump button, calling it the first platformer. The next page, titled Kong Kong Hui, gives us a rundown on the Donkey Kong family and associates, introduced after Rare took over the series. We have Kiddy Kong, described as a 3-year-old baby Kong known for squashing Kremlings, plus Diddy Kong, who is described with obvious humor that everyone wants to spank. Cranky Kong is a video game veteran offering unsolicited advice. Dixie Kong used her spinning hair to save the day in the SNES game. The page also has Wrinkly Kong, knitting and feeding birds, Candy Kong, Donkey Kong's fiancé who loves cooking, Funky Kong, a sandal-wearing surfer dude, and Swanky Kong hosting sideshows. Finally, Bluster Kong wants to marry Candy, but she's not keen. There are also sections on classic Donkey Kong games, with screenshots and descriptions. There's Donkey Kong Jr., and Donkey Kong 3. The NES section highlights arcade-perfect versions of old Donkey Kong games, and the, let's say, interesting Donkey Kong Jr.'s math. This page delves into the origins of Donkey Kong, from its arcade beginnings to its evolution. It highlights the arcade version's success, selling 65,000 units and launching its characters to stardom. It mentions how Monkey became Donkey, and notes the original Donkey Kong as the first platform game with a jump button. The page touches upon the strangeness of Donkey Kong Jr., where Mario is the villain. Donkey Kong 3, with its Space Invaders-style gameplay, also gets a mention. The brothers Bear from Donkey Kong Country 3 and their alleged connection to Banjo are also discussed. King Krool's evil plans for Congo Bongo are brought up. General Clump, Krool's clumsy second-in-command, is featured, as well as Crucia, who is strong but not too bright. There is also a section on the Donkey Kong Country TV show, which follows the adventures of Donkey, Dixie, Diddy, and Kiddy, with regular appearances from the extended Kong family. It's apparently quite good, despite being a kids' show. The page also includes information on the SNES Super Mario Kart, where Donkey Kong's first appearance was. This page is a retrospective look at the Donkey Kong franchise leading up to the next game. It starts with the arcade classic, pondering if the monkey was on drugs. It then moves through the SNES era, highlighting Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Kong Quest, noting their impressive graphics. The review then speculates on the new DK game and gameplay, including the prediction of playable characters like Diddy, Dixie, Kiddy, and Funky, and that you will be able to choose two to play as. It concludes with the N64 version of Mario Kart, pointing out Donkey Kong's similar role to his SNES counterpart. The next page reflects on the Donkey Kong series, from the SNES hits like Diddy's Conquest and how they elevated the console, to rumors of a new N64 game. The writer humorously mentions sneaking into Rare HQ for a peek. Also highlighted are Donkey Kong's appearances in Mario Kart 64, Smash Bros., and Mario Party. A small screenshot from the new game shows Diddy Kong in a minecart. It also mentions Donkey Kong Land for the Game Boy. The page also predicts hidden secrets and bonus areas, aiming for the graphical leap the SNES games achieved. There are also mentions of sub-games featuring Funky Kong, tons of animals to ride, and beautiful underwater sections. The page finishes asking for user feedback and ideas for the new game. To May. This page, the Insight section, kicks off with an editorial lamenting the magazine's past as Total 64 and its transition to its current form, while affirming its continued dedication to N64 gaming news and reviews. There's also a mention of a new color Game Boy magazine insert. The editorial ends with a sign-off from Simon Phillips. The main article is headlined, "Return to Zelda," hinting at a new Zelda game for the N64, with the word "exclusive" stamped across it. The article speculates about a possible add-on version of Ocarina of Time for the 64DD, referencing unused dungeons and levels. It also brings up the Banjo-Kazooie sequel, suggesting a potential connection between the two games through a mystery device. The article ends with the expectation of a Christmas release for this year's Zelda. Screenshots from Ocarina of Time also appear on the page. The next page dives straight into N64 news, with a piece about Nintendo announcing a follow-up to Rogue Squadron at the Nuremberg Toy Fair in Germany. This new game, tentatively titled Episode 1 Racer, is set to coincide with the release of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It will be a racing game developed by LucasArts based on the pod racer scene. The magazine hints at another Phantom Menace game, speculating it will be a person-based shoot-em-up. Above the main article are thumbnails and scores for World Driver Championship, Vigilante 8, Carmageddon, Revolt, and LEGO Racers. This page brings us more N64 news. First up is a Batman game coming to N64, as Ubisoft have announced a deal with Warner Bros. To bring him to the console, joining the ranks of Superman, Spider-Man, and X-Men. Next up is an article about the Cheaty Monkey cartoon character, and its fall from grace due to financial constraints. Finally, Atari are declaring war on the N64 with the Game War. Final Assault, which is being described as Quake 2 on steroids, promising new levels and features exclusive to the N64. The next page is a full-page advert for Micro Machines 64 Turbo. It highlights the manic mayhem and fun of the game, boasting 8-player action, chaotic mini-sized car battles, and the ability to tear up household environments. This page is an Insight news piece about Psygnosis being banned from developing for the N64. Apparently, Sony, who owns Psygnosis, isn't too keen on them dabbling with rival formats like the N64 and PC. This throws the future of the N64 version of O.D.T. into doubt. The article also mentions that we probably won't see N64 conversions of PlayStation titles like Roll Cage and Wipeout 3. The page features screenshots from what looks like a futuristic racing game, Rollout 3. The next page is a full-page advert for Beetle Adventure Racing. On Nintendo 64, it proclaims Beatlemania is back, and features colorful graphics with VW Beetles and boasts over-the-top race action in the coolest car ever built. This page is an insight section, which features some news and opinions related to Nintendo. There are 3 news sections. The first is about Rare's upcoming games. Jet Force Gemini is delayed until June, leaving little time for Perfect Dark, Conker's Quest, Banjo-Tooie and Donkey Kong 64 to come out that year. It also mentions a 3D beat-em-up game, Killer Instinct 2 and a car racing game. The second section discusses Japanese game sales. Ogre Battle 3 is on a massive cartridge and might sell as well as Zelda in Japan. The PlayStation 2 is being talked about and seems powerful. Nintendo aren't worried about it and will have their own even more powerful machine soon. Also, Zelda is trouncing the Saturn and Dreamcast sales in Japan. Pikachu Genki Detchu is selling well too, a new Pokemon game with a microphone. And lastly, a Japanese Zelda advert is talked about saying it is bonkers but at least it is not sexist. Cha. The third section covers the consumer affairs show Short Change on the BBC and claims it is one-sided propaganda. The show aired a segment saying Nintendo's official helplines and guides were undermanned and overexpensive, but John was cut out of the program, with the conclusion being to keep using the helplines. The final small section is on Acclaim's NBA Jam 2000 and says the game will be fast-paced and fun. The next page is a full-page advertisement from Excitement Direct, offering a variety of Nintendo 64 accessories and games. You can grab rumble packs, memory cards, and even steering wheels, plus N64 games and Game Boy games in full color. Featured products include the Shockwave Force feedback device and the Interactor Force pack. It ends with an order form and contact details for placing orders. This page features Insight, offering a look at the world of Nintendo. First up is Monster Mash Rampage Universal Tour, previewing the game and expressing cautious optimism after Rampage World Tour. Midway appears to be confident this time around. Then, there's a news section titled PC or Not PC. It discusses the release of an N64 emulator called Ultra Hill, highlighting its ability to run games like Mario 64 and GoldenEye in higher resolutions. The legality of obtaining ROMs is questioned, and it's mentioned that Nintendo acted quickly to have the emulator removed. However, it is still being developed. This page dives into some juicy updates. First, Rumble in the Jungle teases Jungle Bots, a first-person shooter from Titus for the N64, drawing parallels to Acclaim's hits and involving mechanized creatures. Next, Rayman TV announces an upcoming Rayman cartoon series in the style of Donkey Kong Country, set to boost awareness for Rayman's next game. Probe is adapting the Turok 2 engine for Armorines, based on Acclaim comics and featuring powerful exoskeletons. The main feature is Viva la Revolution, Carmageddon 64, a preview of the controversial game. The reviewer touches on the BBFC's involvement and the game's sought-after status, highlighting level names like Beaver Patrol and gameplay elements such as zombie killing, satellite dish destruction, and zombie pedestrian carnage. The reviewer jokes about size possible beaver obsession and expresses hope that the game will clear censorship hurdles for its May release. Vetty. This page provides an insight into the world of Nintendo, focusing on Acclaim's All-Star Baseball 2000 for the N64. The game is touted as a realistic and playable baseball experience, building on the previous year's success. It looks like the reviewer is impressed with the highest graphics and the game's attention to detail. The release date is set for April 1999. There is also a snippet called West Side Story, in which a survey claims N64 owners are better lovers, and mentions that Silicon Graphics offshoot Artex is working on the N2000. Furthermore, Retro Studios in Austin, founded by Exiguana developers, are working on development tools for the new console. This page is a preview of Vigilante 8 for the N64, published by Activision and developed by Luxaflux. The preview highlights the game's 70s throwback theme, tasking players with destroying a gang of marauding road warriors called the Coyotes in various vehicles equipped with an arsenal of weapons. Locations include the Hoover Dam, Casino City, and a ghost town. The game features frantic multiplayer modes and enhanced graphics, and is expected to be released in March 1999. There's also news regarding Donkey Kong 64. Nintendo expects it to sell in Zelda-like quantities when released at Christmas 1999. Peter Main commented that the game pushes the hardware to levels not thought possible, and some details about Nintendo fitting Game Boy colors to tube trains in London. Finally, there is some blurb on Army Men, Sarge's heroes. The next page dives into Insight, offering a sneak peek at upcoming Nintendo games. First up is Revolt, being developed by Acclaim, which seems like a mashup of Lego racers and Micro Machines, with radio-controlled cars tearing around custom tracks filled with stunts. The reviewer thinks it sounds like a laugh, anticipating the best from third-party publishers on the N64. There's also a tease for another game, though it's not named, accompanied by the phrase, "Please release me," and various screenshots. Overall, a look at some potentially exciting racing games on the horizon. This page features a preview of LEGO Racers, described as LEGO's attempt to grace the N64 as a racing game. The reviewer expresses nostalgia for LEGO bricks and notes the appeal of the new Star Wars LEGO kits. The game promises 12 environments based on different LEGO worlds. The two-player multiplayer mode is considered a pity due to the competition in the racing genre, but the reviewer remains optimistic. Also featured is a preview of Harvest Moon 64, with the reviewer poking fun at the prospect of a farming sim. It draws a comparison to the Game Boy version and highlights how the game introduces Japanese children to agrarian practices. The reviewer notes the UK's familiarity with farming, but still suggests the Harvest Moon could be a worthy title for purchase. This page, under the Insight banner, leads with Gran Turismo Beta, World Driver Championship. It seems they're not sure what to call the game after going through GT World and GT Rally. It boasts beautiful car models, special effects, and a high-resolution mode. Next up is Load Runner, under the preview section. "Shoot your load and run," is the amusing tagline. The reviewer jokes that nobody can remember the classic 8-bit favorite, blaming it on beer. They admit the game doesn't look great from the screenshots, but hope the playability shines through, implying there's loads of it. Infogrames publishes the game developed by Big Bang. The next page kicks off with E-Secure F1 Deal, announcing a multi-year deal for F1 racing games on the N64. Then there's Plastic Fantastic, promoting Playmates and Acclaim teaming up for Turok action figures, including Joshua Fireseed, Add-on, the Primogen, and Raptor varieties. The page features screenshots from World Driver Championship, with the reviewer suggesting it could put Gran Turismo to shame and praising the graphics. It's developed by Boss Game Studios, known for Top Gear Rally, and published by Midway. Also featured is Load Runner, scheduled for release in April 1999. The preview describes it as an action-adventure puzzler, where you play as Load Runner to retrieve treasure and defeat the Emperor Monk of Pandora. This page starts with Insight, and is all about the world of Nintendo. We have a retro review of Mario Kart 64, described as a multiplayer masterpiece that could teach the PlayStation a thing or two about playability. The reviewer loves 4-player mode, and suggests that if you don't own it you should buy it now. Then there's news about the expansion pack, and whether Rare will use it for Jet Force Gemini. The reviewer is keen to see Hire's action, and will be visiting Rare to find out more. Finally, there's a snippet on the THQ game Nuclear Strike, promising a reveal at E3 in May. The next page is a full-page advert for video game cheats and tips. It covers the N64, PlayStation, and PC. It boasts cheats for over 750 games, including over 350 for N64 and PC. Also available are fax-back cheats and tips for an extra cost. This page is a chart attack feature, presenting various top 10 charts for the Nintendo 64. The main chart is the blockbuster Top 10 rental chart, which includes games like South Park, Legend of Zelda, Rogue Squadron, Turok 2, WCW vs NWO, Revenge, GoldenEye, Mission, Impossible, WWF Warzone, Wipeout 64, and F1 World Grand Prix. There are two other charts, Most Played and Most Wanted. The most played titles include Mario Party, Beetle Adventure Racing, Diddy Kong Racing, Mario Kart 64, Zero X, Castlevania, GoldenEye, FIFA 99, IS 98, and Vigilante 8. The most wanted games include Donkey Kong Country 64, Perfect Dark, Shadowman, Zelda, Banjo-Tooie, Jet Force Gemini, Hybrid Heaven, Armorines, Star Wars, Podracer, and Carmageddon 64. Finally, there's a depth top 10 chart featuring Legend of Zelda, Rogue Squadron, Turok 2, Wipeout 64, Vrally 99, Zero X, Buster Move 3, NBA Jam 99, Gex, Enter the Gecko, and WWF Warzone. The next page is a release date schedule for upcoming games. Depth is the image featured on the top left-hand side. April 99 is headlined with Airboarding USA, All-Star Baseball, Beetle Adventure Racing, Buster Move 99, Castlevania 64, Chameleon 2, Charlie Blast's Challenge, Duke Nukem, Zero Hour, Earthworm Jim 3D, Fighting Force, Flying Dragon, Hybrid Heaven, Lode Runner, NBA Pro 99, Ogre Battle 3 Person of Lordly Caliber, Rugrats, Rush 2, Shadowgate 64, Trials of Four Towers, Starshot, and Tetris 64. June 99 includes Command & Conquer, Gauntlet Legends, GT Rally, Harrier 20, Hybrid Heaven, Lode Runner, Looney Tunes, Space Race, Rat Attack, Shadowman, Tonic Trouble, and World Drive Championship. July 99 includes 4x4 Mud Monsters, In Fisherman's Bass Hunter, Monster Truck Madness and Survivor Day 1. August and everything after lists Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, Biohazard 2, Biohazard 0, Flying Dragon, Nuclear Strike, Shadowman, Pocket Monster Pikachu, Rayman 2, RC Revolt, Road Rash 64, Roadster 99, Tonic Trouble, Turok 3, and 12 Tales, Conker's Quest. The page also includes a reader submission section to list your most played and wanted games. RC. This page is a review of Beetle Adventure Racing for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer seems pretty excited about the game as it's getting a solid 34 out of 50. There are some screenshots showing off the colorful, if somewhat blocky, graphics. The overall vibe seems to be positive. It mentions the magazine has changed its review awards to gold and silver for good games, implying Beetle Adventure Racing is up there. The next page dives into a series of N64 reviews, handing out both gold and silver awards. First up is Beetle Adventure Racing, a lively racer drawing comparisons to Mario Kart 64 with a score of 34 out of 50. Then there's Racing Simulation, Monaco Grand Prix scoring a 40, praised for bringing F1 racing to the N64 despite some licensing hiccups. Castlevania gets a 44, promising a horror adventure experience. Mario Party earns a 54, with the reviewer admitting its potential as the best multiplayer game on the N64. South Park lands a 56, with some reservations about its style. What Else offers brief glimpses of WCW Thunder and Hiryu Stadium, both scoring 52 and 56 respectively. Finally, a score chart with comments like, "If you don't buy this then you're mad," for 90,100 and "Masochist need only apply," for 0040. Screenshots showcase games, such as a fighting game, and the multiplayer action of Mario Party. Warrington Nalsa. This page is a review of Beetle Adventure Racing, with the reviewer likening it to the Milk Tray Man and saying it rocks. They highlight the Volkswagen Beetle's history and its likable personality, mentioning its updated design. The review praises the game's playability, calling it top class and the most playable racer on the N64, citing excellent car handling, courses, and hidden routes. The reviewer claims players will be hooked within minutes. Screenshots show in-game action, with comments on surviving drops and avoiding lava. The next page continues the Beetle Adventure Racing review, focusing on the game's design and features. You get to pick from 3 different types of Beetle, each with different speed, acceleration, and handling. Color and stripe design is entirely at your discretion. Bonus cars can be attained as you progress through the game, including sporty numbers with a shark tail spoiler, and a multicolored love bug that looks like somebody has vomited on it. The final car is a police car complete with a wailing siren. Screenshots show the car selection screen and gameplay footage on the Wicked Woods track. Bauer. This page features a review of Beetle Adventure Racing. It highlights the game's multiplayer options, allowing for single races against CPU opponents or one-on-one battles. The review mentions that while it lacks a 4-player race mode, the 2-player mode is great, and the 4-player battle mode is awesome. It praises the car handling, beautiful courses, and in-game effects, but notes that the music is the least impressive aspect. The review also points out the multiple routes in each course, adding to the game's longevity. This page is all about Beetle Adventure Racing. It highlights a little more on the multiplayer side of things, focusing on the 4-player Beetle Battle Mode, which is compared to Mario Kart 64's Battle Mode, emphasizing its high-impact, destructive gameplay with missiles, mines, and more. The idea is to collect 8 colored insects, which are beetles, before your competitors. The page also points out some hidden areas and cheats in the game, giving players tips on how to find them and what they unlock. There are also a few more course previews, including one of Inferno Island and Coventry Cove. The next page features a review of Beetle Adventure Racing, praising its graphics as the best on the N64 without needing an expansion pack. It highlights the lack of pop-up and fogging, and the stunning reflections on the cars, as well as the beautiful animation. The review mentions various game modes, including a 4-player battle mode. It's a shame there is no race mode for 4 players, however. The objective is to collect 8 colored beetles before your opponents using missiles, mines, and other weaponry. Despite its quality, the reviewer is surprised the game wasn't more heavily marketed. It concludes by calling Beetle Adventure Racing the greatest arcade racer on the N64, and gives it a score of 92%. This page continues the review of Beetle Adventure Racing, focusing on the diverse tracks available. It highlights 6 levels: Coventry Cove, a countryside track with shortcuts through a barn, churchyard and roller coaster; Mount Mayhem, a snow-covered circuit with underground UFOs and ski jumps; Sunset Sands, an Egypt-inspired level with pyramids and statues; Inferno Island, a Sunshine Island featuring Jurassic Park elements and a James Bond-esque coastal village; Metro Madness, a street circuit reminiscent of American cities with breathtaking lighting; and Wicked Woods, a haunted woodland with a fire-breathing dragon and a ghost-ridden mansion. The reviewer seems particularly fond of Inferno Island. The next page features a review of Racing Simulation Monaco Grand Prix for the Nintendo 64. The review includes screenshots and details about the game's camera angles. Apparently, the game offers 7 different camera views, some from inside the car, and some from outside. The reviewer jokes about whether the car looks more like a crocodile with wheels on the front, and is unsure whether the in-car view is realistic, but pretty. The article claims that this racing simulation delivers thrills of motor racing in its own fictitious style with made UP teams like Jackson and Wilson. The reviewer points out that official endorsements are absent and highlights the inclusion of a career mode. This page showcases the Racing Simulation Monaco Grand Prix review, diving deeper into the game's career mode, where you start as an unemployed rookie and work your way up by accepting contracts from teams. There are also tips on the track, such as how the split screen enhances peripheral vision, and that nudging opponents can lead to spectacular spinouts. This page offers a review of Racing Simulation Monaco Grand Prix for the N64. The review highlights the game's crash sequences as a plus, and its career mode, where players start as an unemployed driver. It also touches on the 2-player mode, noting the absence of a 4-player option, which is a shame as having 4 players would have been a great improvement. The review praises the car handling, and the inclusion of simulation elements, such as tire wear and fuel load. The reviewer, Lee, recommends the game. The game gets a score of 89%. The next page continues the Racing Simulation Monaco Grand Prix review, diving into pit stop strategies and the modifications you can make to your car, like fuel load, steering lock, tire types, and wing adjustments. The review jokingly mentions the pit crew, looking like the yellow Teletubby family. There are screenshots showing various aspects of the game, including pit stops, gameplay, and replay angles. The reviewer humorously compares the driver's eyebrows to Roger Moore's. This page features a review of Castlevania for the Nintendo 64, heralding it as the console's first horror game. The review is titled Hammer Horrors, and discusses the game's psychological horror elements. It mentions examples like Belmont preventing his lover from suicide and Carrie being forced to kill her mother. The reviewer describes the game as atmospheric, with effective cutscenes and a horrific storyline. The page also highlights some of the game's flaws, such as awkward camera angles and tricky jumping sections. Despite these issues, the reviewer praises the game's graphical detail and animation, comparing it favorably to Zelda. Screenshots show various in-game scenes, including a Virgin Mary statue crying blood, a spider-like creature, and gameplay moments in Dracula's castle. The next page presents more Castlevania for the N64. It's got a section titled A Match Made in Hell, which talks about the game's storyline involving Schneider Belmont and the vampire Rosa. Apparently, it involves love, boiling skin, suicide attempts, resurrection, sacrifice, and a happy reunion. Someone thinks it's all a bit like Charles and Camilla. There are also little tips boxes, called Busted. They tell you to jump away from giant skeletons, find tasty chicken near fountain-like structures to recover health, and use invisible platforms to avoid dogs. The fountain at midnight has handy pickups. Waypoir. The next page is a review of Castlevania for the N64, opening with a section amusingly titled Common People, which introduces some of the characters encountered in the game. Vincent, the vampire slayer who might do more harm than good. Rosa, a vampire with a fondness for dawn fauna sprinkling. Renon, a demon who is surprisingly helpful. And Death himself all make an appearance. The review then delves into the game itself, touching on the lighting effects, music, and silky smooth controls, marred only by occasional camera issues. It mentions the different camera modes, including a rather useless lock-on system that's similar to Zelda's. The two playable characters, Carrie and Belmont, are discussed, with Carrie being easier to play and Belmont more fun. It laments the removal of a werewolf and a Jason look-alike character due to time constraints. The review wraps up with a section on the sound, calling it truly amazing, and recommending seeking out the soundtrack. The bosses are described as stunning, from a giant skeleton to a mountainous bull, and even Death himself. Finally, there is a small section on what the game is called, and the different names used for the main character, Björn. This page has a review of Castlevania for the N64. It starts with a section titled, "I'm not fat, just big-boned," which highlights the impressive bosses, like the giant skeleton. Next, Roots, Bloody Roots, discusses the different paths for Belmont and Carrie, with Carrie navigating sewers and a crystal mountain, while Belmont explores caves and a volcano's innards. Lastly, Transvision Vamp describes the adventure against Count Dracula and his minions, praising the way the enemies move and break. It also notes that some enemies drain your strength upon contact, making them stronger. The review ends by referring to Dracula, with a list of over-the-top names such as the Big Cheese himself, the Lord of Darkness, or the Walking Dead. The next page continues the Castlevania review. The review, titled, "Shut Your Trap," notes that Dracula's castle is not exactly a welcoming place, and is full of dangers and traps. Another section titled, "Death Becomes You," talks about Death's role in the game, stating he attacks by summoning creatures from other dimensions. The graphics are described as fuzzy, but generally amazing, with the lighting effects being the best since Rogue Squadron. There's praise for the moody backdrops and huge bosses. The reviewer then mentions the different routes through the game and the multiple endings. In the conclusion, the reviewer admits that there's something charming about Castlevania that makes you want to overlook its flaws. They compare it to Banjo-Kazooie, and praise the fighting, jumping, exploration, and puzzle solving. The game earns an 87% rating. The acid test section highlights the game being extremely compelling and brilliantly atmospheric, but also notes annoying jumping sections and niggling camera faults. This page continues the Castlevania review, offering tips on how to unlock secret costumes for Carrie and Reinhardt. There's also a reminder to destroy candelabras for extra jewels. The section, "No Bullmate," focuses on the boss fight with Behemoth, a monstrous guardian bull. The page then transitions to a section called Saturday Nitro, describing a cleverly designed level involving blowing up walls with collected chemicals. The reviewer highlights the tense atmosphere and potential for unexpected explosions, warning about the dangers of accidental jumps. Screenshots showcase gameplay and various status displays. Penty. The next page is a review of the South Park game. It's not a flattering one, with the reviewer lamenting that it doesn't live up to expectations and calling it an appalling exercise in software making. Ouch. The review highlights the Robot Wars and Let's All Kill Kenny multiplayer modes, showing some in-game screenshots of the characters. The reviewer praises the sound and the use of character quotes from the show as the only redeeming quality, saying it makes the multiplayer fun. But overall, they pan the gameplay, camera angles, and texture. This page continues the review of the South Park game for the N64. The reviewer highlights the attack of the Big Gay Zombies level, with screenshots showing the zombie versions of Big Gay Al. They criticize the repetitive gameplay, saying it's just walking up and down streets shooting the same enemies. They do praise the weapons of mass hilarity, including scooping snowballs, a foam-shooting machine gun that stops turkeys, and a Terrence doll that unleashes green gas. There's a list of cheat codes to try out, including Planetarium Pen and Ink mode enabled, and Asman Invincibility enabled. The review concludes with a total N64 rating, stating it's not the worst game in the world, but not what we expect from the mighty Acclaim either. It receives a 69% score, with acid test points noting the game is South Park, the speech is good, but there are major fogging problems and repetitive gameplay. This page is a review of WCW Thunder for the N64. Published by THQ and developed by Inland Productions. The reviewer is not impressed, calling it a world title contender in tonight's main event. They use terms like milking, fleecing, and draining, to describe the practice of publishers putting little effort into games with recognizable licenses. The graphics are described as shoddy and jerky, with poor representations of the wrestlers. The soundtrack is deemed terrible, complemented by squealing commentary. There's criticism of a limited number of moves and a slow combat engine. They even take a shot at the wrestlers themselves, suggesting some are incapable of performing the moves they're portrayed doing in the game. Overall, the reviewer considers WCW Thunder a horrible game. The next page features a continued review of WCW Thunder. The reviewer is not impressed with the game, giving it a measly 39% rating. They feel THQ released a poor product and hope they learn from their mistakes. The acid test section is particularly harsh, with the reviewer sarcastically telling the reader to look behind you. The review highlights a few gutter superstars like Bret Hart, Sting, Goldberg, Hulk Hogan, and Kevin Nash. It also showcases some moves, like a powerbomb from Scott Hall, a tombstone piledriver, and Goldberg doing whatever he can without his equipment, and Raven's dreaded shove. The reviewer advises players to pick Goldberg in tournaments, as he is the best all-round character. This page features a review of Mario Party for the Nintendo 64. The reviewer questions why Mario is in so many games. It highlights that the game features 60 sub-games, and is aimed at 4-player fun. The graphics are praised, with mention of Donkey Kong fainting and Luigi breakdancing. You can play as Mario, Yoshi, Luigi, Donkey Kong, Peach and Wario, on a digital board game and collect stars. The next page continues the Mario Party review, highlighting some of the wacky minigames on offer, like Super Skittles where you play as a bowling ball or skittle, Balloon Burst where you inflate a balloon till it pops, Bumper Balls where you try to knock opponents off a platform, and Facelift where you distort faces, not to mention Tightrope Treachery and Crazy Cutters. It emphasizes the outrageous and hilarious scenarios, such as Mario dangling from a crane picking up Donkey Kong. It is rated 92%, with some slight concerns that it is best enjoyed with 4 players. This page features a review of Hiryu Stadium for the N64. It's a fighting game, with some odd-looking characters that the reviewer likens to a squashed version of Tekken 3. The reviewer notes the accessibility of getting into a fight but finds the story mode and other options difficult to decipher due to the Japanese language, suggesting players wait for a PAL or American version. It mentions that extra characters are unlockable, and there are many move combinations, and it is rated 79%. The next page delves deeper into Hiryu Stadium, showcasing the game's busted special moves, describing one character's powerbomb as interdimensional. The page emphasizes the spectacular nature of the power moves, triggered by the C button, featuring dragons, mystical creatures, and energy-sapping combos. The Jackanory section compares the game's storyline presentation to Tekken 3, noting the use of 2D cutouts. The reviewer humorously points out a character's pinkness, while highlighting leg-snapping combos as part of the action. The overall verdict is a 70% rating, with praise for the fast-paced action and cool moves, but criticism for its lack of originality and the language barrier. The next page is a full-page advert for the Explorer 64, a cheat cartridge for the Nintendo 64. It promises more power, more ammo, more cash, and access to hidden game secrets. Get ready to blow your games wide open. This page is the interaction page of the magazine. It's essentially the reader interaction section, promising guides, tips, and a chance to win prizes for contributing content. There's a Zelda guide feature, with a nod to it finally wrapping up. There are also sections for burning issue debates, reader-submitted art, and reader reviews. Tips Index Busted offers advice, while GoldenEye Masterclass caters to aspiring rare game experts. High Scores encourages sending in proof of achievements, and Total Recall recaps every N64 game. The issue is number 26, with a page number of 59. This page features reader correspondence and opinions, specifically addressing Nintendo's approach to adult gamers. The main debate questions whether Nintendo is downplaying the N64's appeal to adults. One reader, John Austin, argues that Nintendo's fluffy image is misleading, highlighting early N64 games like Turok and Wave Race as not particularly kiddie-like. He humorously refers to Mario 64 as abstract art originating from a magic mushroom-fueled orgy, and blames Nintendo's marketing for targeting young teens. Another reader, Christian Slater from Station Magazine criticizes the quality of many N64 games compared to PlayStation titles. He suggests that Nintendo's high-handed meddling might discourage developers from creating innovative games for the system. He hopes for a more mature image for the console, given the number of adult N64 owners. This page dives into the question of Nintendo's appeal to adult gamers. One section, Shake a Stick, features a reader, Steve Takel from Total PlayStation, lamenting the kiddie-stultifying cutesy cartoon romps on the N64 and wanting more adult software to compete with the PlayStation. Another section, Plumbled Fantasy-Driven Virtual Reality, questions whether Nintendo even cares about a specific audience, arguing that they seem to exist in a rose-tinted past and haven't kept up with the demand for more mature and aggressive games. The reader criticizes the lack of decent beat-em-ups and claims even the best racing game, Wipeout 64, is an old PlayStation title. Finally, Drink Beer, Watch Football and Have Sex discusses the lack of adult themes like sex or interpersonal relationships in Nintendo games. The reader references the PC game Tender Loving Care and suggests that games dealing with such themes would appeal to adult players, especially women. The next page is all about showcasing fan art. It's titled Art with a Paint Palette Graphic, and it features a selection of drawings sent in by readers. One drawing is a Star Prize winner, depicting a comical rivalry between Nintendo and PlayStation fans. Other artworks include depictions of characters from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, as well as an image of Turok and other game characters or people. The bottom of the page encourages readers to send in their own artwork for a chance to be featured. This page features reader reviews under the title Right On. It kicks off with a critical take on GoldenEye 007, with the reviewer questioning the game's appeal and its depiction of James Bond. The reviewer also criticizes the repetitiveness and the slow multiplayer mode, and gives the game a 75% rating. Next up is a review of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, where the reviewer expresses initial excitement that quickly turns to boredom. They note the game's size can be overwhelming, and give the game a score of 85%. Screenshots from both games are included. The page concludes with an invitation for readers to submit their own reviews, and an address to send them to. Warrington Intra. The next page is a full-page advertisement for Total N64 subscriptions, complete with free stuff. Subscribe to Total N64 and receive the next 12 issues, a free Gamester controller, a Tremor pack, and a trendy bag. There is also a subscription form to fill out, if you are that way inclined. This page is a tips index page focusing on cheat codes and secrets for Star Wars Rogue Squadron on the Nintendo 64. It lists codes to unlock hidden levels by entering DEADDAC on the password screen, which unlocks bonus levels like the Beggar's Canyon Race, the Death Star Trench Run, and the Battle of Hoth. Another code, Hard Rock, replaces Luke Skywalker with a strange bearded man. The code Blamius shows the development team, where each member supposedly has a Chewbacca resemblance. Finally, Coelch unlocks a flying black caddy car. The page closes with a Cracked It badge. The next page dives into Mario Party on the N64, offering tips and cheats for the game. It details how to unlock Bowser's Magma Mountain stage by completing the first 6 stages and collecting over 1,000 coins. It explains how to unlock the Eternal Star stage by getting 100 stars in the Magma Mountain stage. It also mentions unlocking special shop items, an alternate title screen, and extra songs. The page also includes instructions on how to get coins easily and unlock the bumper ball mazes 1, 2, and 3. The page continues with the Nightmare Creatures cheat mode and provides a list of passwords for level selection and unlimited lives for the aforementioned game. The rest of the page highlights cheats for Milo's Astro Lanes, including Mega Ball, White Dwarf Ball, Booster Ball, and Clone Ball. It gives button combinations to activate them. Finally, tucked away in the corner is some FIFA 99 cheat for the Nintendo 64. This page serves as an advertisement for Datal Action Replay game enhancers, complete with cheat codes for various games like Banjo-Kazooie and WCW vs NWO Revenge on the Nintendo 64. It offers infinite health, feathers, and other in-game perks. It also has a little disclaimer about the cartridge's limitations, mentioning the importance of only activating codes as necessary. The rest of the page is an ad for Project K, a retailer specializing in PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and Dreamcast imports. They've got a Game Set and Play section with a list of N64 games and their prices. There are a few gems in there for those wanting to snap up a bargain from yesteryear. The advert highlights some of their merchandise. This page dives into the cheat codes and secrets for battle tanks on the N64. It reveals a bunch of passwords for things like invincibility, unlimited lives and ammo, every weapon, invisibility, and all gangs in campaign mode, and even frog and toad gangs. There are also passwords to run the story mode, psychedelic view, or spinning view. It also includes a suicide command, a multiplayer weapons power-up trick, and a list of level passwords to start at different points in the game with the Nuclear Knights gang. It also has codes to unlock Crystal Cup, Diamond Cup, Zenith Cup, Master Code, Scorpion Car, Cobra Car, Cheetah Car and Panther Car. Plus there are codes for Big Player Mode, Big Head Mode, View Ending Sequence, Faster Gameplay and Clock, Alternate Goal Sounds, Turbo Mode, and Ear Blades and Ear Storm teams. This page is all about cheats and competitions. First up, cheat codes for Gex, enter the Gecko for the reaching Titanic level, a super password for all remotes with 99 lives, and status passwords for the first and second gate opened. Then there are some cheats for penny races, where you can win a medal on each level to earn extra points, better weapons and advancement. Finally, it's a competition page where you can win games and accessories by calling different numbers. Prizes include Zelda 64, Metal Gear Solid, Tekken 3, ISS Pro 98, Toka 2, F1 97, Colony Wars, Vengeance, Turok 2, and Colony Wars, a MIDI Hifi, a mobile phone, a PSX and white PSX, a color Game Boy camera and printer, a Nintendo 64, and a PlayStation driving seat, 1080 snowboarding, Banjo-Kazooie, Tomb Raider 3, Body Harvest, Rally, Medieval, Future Cop, LAPD 2100, Wipeout 64 and Tomb Raider 2. The next page unveils cheat codes and hidden secrets for a couple of N64 races and Super Smash Bros. J. For Wipeout 64, completing certain race and challenge modes unlocks tracks and power-ups. Next, F1 World Grand Prix offers the chance to unlock hidden cars and tracks by manipulating driver names in exhibition mode. You can also unlock unlimited acceleration and fuel by making specific selections. Super Smash Bros. Has its own set of unlockables, including alternate character outfits, and the classic Mushroom Kingdom stage. Plus, instructions for unlocking Captain Falcon, Luigi, and Purin as playable characters are provided. This page is a retro look at The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time for the N64, including a brief history of the Zelda series. It mentions the origins of the series on the NES, Adventures of Link, and Link to the Past. It praises Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, suggesting it rivals the SNES version in quality. This page continues the guide for The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, focusing on Part 4, within Level 13, the Fire Temple. It provides objectives such as obtaining the Goron tunic, rescuing captive Gorons, and completing the dungeon. The guide includes instructions on navigating the Death Mountain crater, finding pieces of heart, and using the hookshot. It also advises on surviving the lava-filled areas with the protective tunic and dealing with fire-based enemies. Darunia's role is mentioned, along with the quest to free the Gorons and obtaining the Bolero of Fire song. The next page continues the Zelda, Ocarina of Time walkthrough, sticking with the Fire Temple. It gives instructions on how to deal with enemies that steal your items, as well as providing tips on navigating the temple and rescuing Gorons. The guide details how to use bombs to reveal hidden doors, and the Song of Time to move blocks. It also mentions the likes, those pesky enemies who love to nab your shield and tunic. Ha! This page of the Zelda, Ocarina of Time walkthrough continues the exploration of the Fire Temple. It explains how to use bombs to reveal hidden tunnels and find Gorons. It also talks about using the Scarecrow's song to call Pierre for help. The walkthrough mentions fake doors that can be destroyed with bombs to reveal switches. The page also provides advice for dealing with a fire maze and an enemy called the Flare Dancer, suggesting the hookshot as the best way to defeat it. This page is also a guide for Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and it focuses on how to use the Megaton Hammer to destroy blocks and statues. It explains how to navigate fire maze rooms, rescue the Gorons, and obtain the boss key. You will need to use the hammer to lower floors, and move statues to reveal doors. The walkthrough also recommends using the hookshot and sword to beat the Flare Dancer. Remember, the walls are made of fire, so try to avoid the boulders, and find the boss room for the next challenge. The next page continues the Zelda, Ocarina of Time guide, Now on part 4, giving tips on defeating Volvagia, the lava dragon. It details the dragon's attacks and recommends using the Megaton hammer to stun it. If you miss, arrows can lure it back down. After defeating Volvagia, you collect a heart container and enter the warp. The guide then moves on to Zora's domain, which is covered in ice. It explains how to navigate the icebergs to reach the ice cavern, avoid stalactites, and defeat the freezards. It recommends using your sword and not wasting fire magic on them. Also a small note to visit the Great Fairy Fountain with your hammer. This page continues the Zelda, Ocarina of Time guide, detailing how to navigate Zora's domain and the ice cavern. The guide explains how to acquire blue fire, advising players to collect it in bottles, to melt ice and solve puzzles. It cautions against Freezard's breath, and emphasizes collecting silver gems to open a door, navigating rotating blades. It also gives a tip on where to find a gold sculpture and some heart pieces, as well as detailing the puzzle that involves pushing blocks to collect silver tokens in the room. The next page continues with the Ocarina of Time walkthrough, diving into the water temple, or as I like to call it, the bane of my existence. It gives a step-by-step guide on pushing blocks, defeating enemies, and using blue fire to progress. The guide also covers getting the iron boots, learning the Serenade of Water, and snagging the long shot. There's even a cheeky tip about fishing for the lunker to get the gold scale, and a reminder to grab some heart pieces. Objectives include learning the Serenade of Water, locating the long shot, raising and lowering the water level, and completing the dungeon to receive the water medallion. This page is a walkthrough for the water temple in Zelda, Ocarina of Time, guiding players through raising and lowering water levels, using the hookshot to hit switches, and defeating enemies like shellblades and blue tektites. It also mentions getting the dungeon map, a small key, the gold scale, and a piece of heart. There are screenshots showing Link in various parts of the temple, from fighting enemies to meeting Princess Ruto. It also references playing Zelda's Lullaby to raise the water level. The next page continues the Zelda, Ocarina of Time Water Temple walkthrough, now up to part 4. It provides further instructions on navigating the complex water system, including finding bombable walls for silver keys, using the hookshot, and manipulating water levels using Zelda's Lullaby. The guide details how to navigate the waterfall room with moving platforms, solve water level puzzles, and grapple across to statues. Finally, it leads to the infamous Dark Link battle, offering tips for defeating your shadowy doppelganger, suggesting arrows as a viable attack option and timing your sword strikes carefully. Kata. This page continues the walkthrough for Zelda, Ocarina of Time's Water Temple. It guides you through manipulating water levels, using the long shot to reach new areas, and collecting the silver key. There are instructions on avoiding whirlpools, blowing up walls to find blocks, and hitting switches to raise the water level, which is all par for the course in this dungeon of aqueous aggravation. The next page continues the Zelda, Ocarina of Time Water Temple walkthrough. It details how to exit past the boulder, raise the water level to its highest point using various grapple points, and how to navigate the slope and traps to the boss door. Because who doesn't love a good water level puzzle, eh? It then covers the giant aquatic amoeba boss fight against Morpha, including dodging its tendrils, targeting the nucleus with your sword and hookshot, and how to get the fire arrows, and what Kakariko village is like after that. It also touches on the lens of truth, and Din's fire. The next page picks up with level 15 of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, the Shadow Temple, and a small segment on getting bigger on sword, suggesting that you should tackle that side quest first. It then dives into the bottom of the well segment, guiding you through defeating enemies like the big sculpture, using Zelda's Lullaby, collecting silver tokens, and dealing with the creepy dead hand enemies, because who doesn't love fighting disembodied arms, right? The lens of truth is key here, revealing hidden passages. The objective is to find the hover boots, use the lens of truth for hidden routes, and complete the dungeon to snag the shadow medallion. This page continues the walkthrough of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, focusing on the Shadow Temple Part 4. It details how to use the hover boots, navigate the temple's puzzles, and defeat enemies like Beamos, Stalfos, and likes. It mentions using the lens of truth to reveal hidden passages, rotating blades, and collect silver tokens. The page also describes how to obtain a silver key by using a bomb flower, and to kill all keys on the walls for chests. The next page continues the Zelda, Ocarina of Time walkthrough, diving into the Gerudo Valley and Fortress. It guides players through navigating the valley using Epona or the Longshot, escaping from jail, and rescuing carpenters from the Gerudo fortress. The strategy for Phantom Shadow Beast, Bongo Bongo, is outlined, advising players to use arrows to stun the hands and the Lens of Truth to expose its head. There's also a heads-up on Skulltulas getting in the way. This page continues the walkthrough for Zelda, Ocarina of Time, focusing on the Spirit Temple. It details how to access the training grounds and horseback archery after rescuing the Gerudo, suggesting players try the training ground for a fun challenge. The Haunted Wasteland is up next, instructing players to follow flagpoles and use the Longshot to navigate. The guide then moves into level 16, the Spirit Temple, advising players to read the signs upon entering and return as a child after meeting Sheik to learn the Requiem of Spirit. The walkthrough provides step-by-step instructions on solving puzzles, like pushing the statue and lighting torches, and collecting silver tokens. It also gives tips on defeating enemies, like Lizalfos and the Iron Knuckle. The objective is to explore the temple as both an adult and a child, find the silver gauntlets, and locate the mirror shield. This page provides further guidance through the Spirit Temple in Zelda, Ocarina of Time. As an adult, you will get the gauntlets from a chest after seeing Nabooru being sucked into the sand. You then need to return to the Temple of Time and head back as an adult to collect the Piece of Heart. The guide continues with step-by-step instructions to solve more temple puzzles, defeat enemies, and acquire items like the compass, small key, mirror shield, and boss key. It also offers tips on how to deal with specific challenges, such as the moving walls and luring statues onto switches. The next page continues with the Zelda, Ocarina of Time guide focusing on the Spirit Temple. It offers strategies for fighting the Sorceress Sisters Twin Rover, detailing how to use the mirror shield to deflect their attacks. The guide explains how to charge the shield with either fire or ice attacks, and then release the energy back at the witches. There are also instructions on how to get to the Temple of Time, where you meet Sheik, who reveals himself as Princess Zelda, obtaining the light arrows, which are essential for defeating Ganondorf in Ganon's castle, and advice to destroy all the beams to open the main door. This page continues the Zelda, Ocarina of Time walkthrough, moving into Ganon's castle. It details how to collect blue fire, navigate shadow and fire rooms, and acquire the golden gauntlets. It also gives tips for stocking up on magic and health before facing Ganondorf. The guide includes strategies for the Ganondorf battle, advising the player to use light arrows, hover boots, and the sword to defeat him in 2 parts. The next page is a full-page advert for Department 1, a mail-order company for N64 games. They boast about being dynamic and beating advertised prices, and offer a trade-in service where you can swap old games for new or cash. They list a selection of N64 new releases and accessories, plus handhelds, Game Boy Color games, and some collectible items. This page is a continuation of the Department 1 advert, focusing on second-hand N64 games. The advert is broken down into categories like 3D shoot-em-ups, arcade shoot-em-ups, beat-em-ups, RPG/adventure, other stuff, strategy, puzzles, sports, and racing/driving. Highlights include titles like Doom 64, GoldenEye, Lilac Wars, Biofreaks, Body Harvest, Mission Impossible, Buster Move 2, 1080 Snowboarding, and Diddy Kong Racing, showcasing the variety of genres available. They also emphasize a no-quibble guarantee, with a full refund within 2 working days if you're not satisfied. There's a free delivery offer on everything, or guaranteed next-day delivery for orders before 6:30 p.m., with a free gift on orders over £10. The bottom of the page provides contact information for Department I, located in London. They accept checks and postal orders and don't charge your card until dispatch, plus they point out, all prices include VAT, absolutely no hidden extras. This page is a GoldenEye 007 masterclass. It offers tips and cheats to help players improve their shooting skills. Apparently, even a year after its release, people are still discovering new tricks for the game. The page lists several cheats, including a method to access secret characters like a biker, a terrorist, and the game designers themselves. The cheat requires a series of button and control pad presses like holding L plus R and pressing left C, holding L and pressing up C, etc. It cautions that these cheats won't save to the memory backup and need to be re-entered each time you switch on. There is also a glitch highlighted involving shooting at the reflection of pillars in the Egyptian level, where the bullet hole appears on the reflection but not on the actual pillar. The Nice Touches section mentions a grenade frenzy with scientists in the facility level, and a What's in the Box tip for the caverns level, where a special box releases smaller boxes and computer monitors when shot. The next page is also dedicated to GoldenEye 007. The title reads, "I Busted! Datal Codes," and focuses on providing cheat codes. It details codes for infinite health and ammo for various levels, such as the dam, facility, runway, bunker, frigate, surface, statue, archives, streets, train, Aztec and more. There are also codes listed for things like bond invisibility, DK mode, enemy rockets, fast animation, infinite ammo, invincibility, line mode, no radar, paintball mode, and tiny bond. Finally, it gives the codes to unlock all levels. Note 1 says that the note codes open up the cheats in the inbuilt cheat menu, which must be active for the code to work. Note 2 says that for these cheats to work, make a copy of a save in the game. Eggy. There are also tips and tricks for multiplayer gameplay, such as hiding in metal crates as Oddjob, proximity mine tactics, and weapon advantages. It advises against using the club, and suggests ambushing opponents near boxes and barrels. This page features high scores for various N64 games. There's a retro high scores graphic with pixelated aliens, followed by leaderboards for 1080 degrees snowboarding, GoldenEye 007, and Diddy Kong Racing. In 1080 degrees snowboarding, we see scores for tracks like Airmake, Crystal Lake, Golden Forest, Dragon Cave, Half Pipe, Crystal Peak, Mountain Village, and Deadly Hall. GoldenEye 007 shows level times for dam, facility, runway, surface, bunker, silo, frigate, statue, archives, streets, depot, train, jungle, control, cavern, cradle, Aztec complex, and Egyptian temple. Diddy Kong Racing lists times for Ancient Lake, Fossil Canyon, Hot Top Volcano, Jungle Falls, Walrus Cove, Crescent Island, Windmill Plains, and Dark Moon Caverns. The page also showcases a picture of Diddy Kong in his kart, looking like he's about to win. This page continues the high score theme, featuring Snowboard Kids and Mario Kart 64. The page has a blurb requesting readers to send in their photos along with their high scores for a chance to be featured. For Snowboard Kids, we have scores for Rookie Mountain, Big Snowman, Sunset Rock, Night Highway, Grass Valley, Dizzyland, Ninjaland, Quicksand Valley, and Silver Mountain, all submitted by UK racers. Mario Kart 64 covers a lot of ground with leaderboards for Luigi Raceway, Wario Stadium, Yoshi Valley, Moo Moo Farm, Sherbet Land, Banshee Boardwalk, Koopa Troopa Beach, Royal Raceway, Rainbow Road, Kalimari Desert, Bowser Castle, Toad's Turnpike, DK Jungle Parkway, Frappe Snowland, Choco Mountain, and Mario Raceway. There are a number of submissions from UK and US players, with names like Ross McInstray, Rob Pearce, Danny Dunn, Lusterine Tata, Peter Stock, Stephen Canuck, and a rather impressive image of Mario in his kart looking ready to take on the world. The next page is a celebration of speed, kicking off with F1 Grand Prix in a Williams F1 car, alongside blistering times set in various countries. Generic Spangberg seems to be dominating the leaderboards, with Thomas Badge also putting in a respectable effort in some circuits. Next, Wipeout 64 takes center stage with its futuristic racers and equally impressive times. Paul Stocks and Generic Spangberg continue their leaderboard rivalry. Finally, we have Rally 99 Edition, showcasing a couple of rally cars and stage times from around the globe. Paul Stocks is consistently topping the charts across Indonesia, Safari, Corsica, New Zealand, French Alps, and Sweden. This page is diving into the world of high scores, starting with the IS-98 challenge, where the magazine is daring players to beat their score of 190 in a 10-minute game. Next up is F0X, celebrating John Hunter's outstanding performance, and listing blistering times for various cups and tracks, from Mute City to Big Hand. Bobby Kenny, Adam Charlton, Generic Spangberg, and Thomas Badge receive runner-up mentions. Finally, Lilat Wars Star Fox 64 is mentioned with a list of high scores for various levels like Corneria, Meteo, Sector X, Macbeth, and more, submitted by players like Rob Pearce, Patrick Pfeffer, Andrew Robson, Greg Ignatenko, Dimitri Yarazraj, Tim Klewer, and Aaron Taylor. The magazine challenges players to beat those scores and send in their own to be featured. The next page is a full-page advert from Gameplay, boasting the world's most powerful consoles at Britain's lowest prices. It lists N64 console bundles, with games like Mario 64, Zelda 64, and Turok 2, plus standalone games and accessories. Also advertised are Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Camera. Dafai. This page previews the next month issue of Total N64. It promises a whopping 132 pages packed with news, unbiased reviews and guides. The previews section highlights Hybrid Heaven, a Konami RPG, and Jet Force Gemini. A big up preview of what Rare is cooking up for you this time around. The reviews section covers Vigilante 8, Snowbow Kids 2, and Caesar's Palace, with a full review for Vigilante 8 in the next issue. The guides section features Beetle Adventure Racing and Castlevania, promising the Game Buster will have found everything the game has to offer. WWF Attitude is also highlighted with a preview of acclaimed sequel to Warzone, with the promise of an interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin himself. The page advertises that Total N64 27 arrives 30.04.99 and lists the staff and contributors, including Simon Phillips as editor, Adam Oxford as sub-editor, and Dave Perry as publisher. This page presents Total Recall, Total N64's exhaustive roundup of N64 games, advising readers to consult these pages before spending their money. The section is divided into genres, with a best puzzlers list kicking things off. Silicon Valley, a puzzle platformer where you guide animals to save the planet, takes the top spot. Weetrix, a water-based puzzler, is next, followed by Tsunami, a madcap Japanese puzzler. Buster Move 3 and Tetrisphere round out the list. Borington Valley. The page also reviews other N64 games, including 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, All-Star Tennis, 99, Aero Fighters Assault, Banjo-Kazooie, Aero Gauge, Battle Tanks, Airborder 64, Biofreaks, All-Star Baseball, 99, Blast Corps, Body Harvest, Bomberman 64, Bomberman Hero, Buck Bumble, and Buster Move 2. The Total N64 Gold and Silver awards are highlighted, with gold signifying excellence and silver indicating titles that require more consideration. Please provide the text you want me to summarize. Please provide the text you would like me to summarize. The next page features best driving games and best platformers on the N64. In driving games, Beetle Adventure Racing looks stunning, and F1 World Grand Prix offers depth. Racing Simulation, Monaco Grand Prix is a close second to F1 WGP. Rally 99 Edition has awkward handling but good speed. Top Gear Overdrive is great, but perhaps limited for experts. Micro Machine 64 Turbo gets a 91% rating, MRC Racing gets 82%, NBA Live 99 gets 79%. Mike Piazza's Strike Zone scores 32%, Mystical Ninja 64 gets 87%, NBA Pro 98 gets 80%, Mischief Makers scores 69%, Nagano Winter Olympics scores 75%, NFL Blitz gets 87%, Mission Impossible gets 65%, NASCAR 99 gets 63%, NFL Quarterback Club 98 gets 85%, MK Mythologies scores 28%, NBA Courtside gets 84%, NFL Quarterback Club 99 gets 87%, Mortal Kombat Trilogy scores 50%, NBA Hangtime gets 74%, NHL 99 gets 79%, Mortal Kombat 4 gets 86%, NBA Jam 99 gets 71%, and NHL Breakaway 98 scores 62%. Mario 64 is hailed as one of the greatest games ever made. Banjo-Kazooie is graphically superior to Mario 64, but not quite as challenging. Glover sees a glove gently guiding his balls through weird worlds. Yoshi's story is perhaps too similar to the SNES version. Starshot is a flawed but exhilarating journey with French humor. This page showcases best overall games and best beat-em-ups on the N64. In the best overall games section, Zelda 64 is declared the greatest game ever, followed by GoldenEye as an office favorite spy shooter. Mario 64 receives high praise, Blast Corps promises destruction, and Super Mario Kart 64 is noted for its enduring quality. The reviews give ratings and additional information on a wide variety of games, including NHL Breakaway, 99 with a 68% rating, and Rakuga Kids at 70%. Silicon Valley gets a 90% rating, Smash Bros. Scores 89%, and Pilotwings 64 gets a 90% rating, and finally Super Mario 64 with 95%. The best beat-em-ups feature WCW vs NWO, Revenge, WWF Warzone, Smash Bros. And Mortal Kombat 4. This page reviews N64 games, highlighting both recommended and less good titles. Some poorly rated games are listed, while many highly rated games, including racing, sports, and action titles, are also reviewed. Several more are also noted as recommended. The next page appears to be an advert for Total Control PlayStation Magazine, Issue 6. It boasts top-secret information for your eyes only, and lists some games featured inside, including Rally 2, GTA London, Homeworld, Requiem, Aliens vs Predator, 12 Tales, Conquer 64, Tactics, Le Mans 24-Hour, Silver, Superbike World Championship, Uprising 2, Silent Hill, Siphon Filter, Castlevania, Roll Cage, Beetle Adventure Racing, Civilization 2, and Wild Metal Country. This page is the Boyzone interaction section, focusing on Game Boy Color games. It features a vibrant purple Game Boy Color with a screenshot of what looks like Wario Land 3 on the screen. The page includes previews for Conker's Pocket Tales and a review for Zelda DX. There's also a Boyzone tips section and a Boyzone star rating indicating the quality of Game Boy games. Link from Zelda DX is featured with a bow and arrow. The next page showcases Boyzone previews for upcoming Game Boy Color titles. We've got Conker's Pocket Tales from Rare, surprisingly touted as a Zelda-style action RPG rather than a platformer. Then there's 720 Degrees, the arcade skateboarding classic, and Three Lions, a football game in the vein of Kickoff. Other previews include Midway's Defender, an updated shoot-'em-up, and Frogger, looking much the same as always. Joust, another retro classic, makes an appearance too. Finally, there's Klax, a Tetris on a conveyor belt puzzle game, Pocket Bowling from Athena, and Silicon Valley, a conversion from the N64. Plenty to keep you busy on your Game Boy Color this summer. This page is all about Rugrats for the Game Boy Color. THQ developed it, and Boyzone gave it a respectable 4-star rating. The reviewer notes that, unlike the console versions, this Rugrats game has limited content, but still packs in platforming and racing elements. The gameplay involves collecting items scattered throughout levels, and there's also a racing mode where you clamber aboard various objects. Characters like Tommy, Chucky, Phil, and Lil feature prominently, and the graphics and music are praised for their quality on the Game Boy Color. There's a competition to win 5 Game Boy Colors and a copy of the Rugrats game by naming 4 characters from the TV series. The next page showcases a trio of Game Boy Color games: Zelda DX, Mortal Kombat 4, and Tetris DX. Zelda DX earns a 4-star rating from Boyzone, with the reviewer praising its similarities to A Link to the Past and the addition of a new dungeon. Screenshots show familiar top-down Zelda gameplay. Mortal Kombat 4 is slammed as a poor port with rubbish graphics and sound, getting only 1 star. The reviewer advises readers to avoid it. Screenshots show Liu Kang and Reiko in action. Tetris DX receives a star game recommendation, with the reviewer noting its addictiveness and new modes. Screenshots show classic Tetris gameplay and scores. Cheligako. This page features reviews for 3 Game Boy Color games. First up is Gex, Enter the Gecko, where our lizard friend makes his way to the Game Boy Color. The reviewer notes the good graphics but finds the gameplay dull and ultimately not worth the £25 asking price. Next is Bugs Bunny, which the reviewer seems to enjoy, praising its graphics and music and a generally fun experience. Finally, we have Wario Land 2. The reviewer highlights the game's graphical brilliance and fun gameplay, concluding it's a fine example of Nintendo's brilliance. The next page features reviews for 3 more games on the Game Boy Color. First is A Bug's Life, based on the Disney Pixar film. The reviewer thinks it's a disappointing cash-in, with simplistic levels and graphics that don't live up to the movie. It's priced at £25. Next we have The Smurfs Nightmare. The reviewer actually seems to enjoy this one, despite the Game Boy already having too many platformers. They praise the graphics, animation, and variety of gameplay, marking it as a welcome addition to anyone's collection for £24. Lastly, there's Men in Black, a game the reviewer strongly dislikes. They compare it unfavorably to old 8-bit computer games, and say it's dull and monotonous, suggesting you'll regret buying it for £25. This page features 2 games, Sylvester and Tweety, and Game & Watch Gallery 2 for the Game Boy Color. Sylvester and Tweety, published by Infogrames, is a puzzle game reminiscent of older 8-bit titles. The reviewer finds it suitable for younger players due to its simplicity, even if the graphics don't fully utilize the Game Boy Color's capabilities. It is priced at £25. Game & Watch Gallery 2, published by Nintendo, is a compilation of classic Game & Watch titles, accompanied by modern full-color renditions. The reviewer enjoys this compilation, highlighting games like Chef, where the princess cooks with Mario and Luigi, and Donkey Kong, calling it the best of the bunch and a must-have for fans. The compilation is priced at £25. This page is a Boyzone tips section, filled with cheat codes and tips for various Game Boy Color games. For A Bug's Life, it provides level passwords. Then there is a tip to unlock a hidden ball game in Game & Watch Gallery 2. Another tip shows how to play as Wario in the Helmet game, instead of Mario. A tip is provided to open the museum section of the cartridge by collecting 10 Power Stars. The page continues with more general Game Boy Color tips, one for changing the border pattern, another for toggling Mona Lisa paintings on and off in Gex, Enter the Gecko, and a shout out to the game Men in Black. There is tips for level skip, and how to fly, and Mega Blast. Finally, there's a list of passwords for various levels in what is likely A Bug's Life. The next page is a full-page advert for Special Reserve, offering a range of Nintendo 64 and PlayStation games, consoles and accessories. It highlights membership deals and free gifts upon joining, alongside a call to action to phone or fax in orders. This page is a full-page advert for Star Wars Rogue Squadron on the Nintendo 64, encouraging players to rely on your instinct whilst showing off the swing-blasting TIE fighters.